It's just going to go.
Yes.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to season 3 of We're Speaking. I'm Lisa Senecal.
And I'm Maya May. We're back with plants. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so good to finally be back, Maya. I mean, you and I have been talking, but we've heard from so many of the people who watch the show, and they've been eager for the return and to be able to connect again. And we're super excited to be back here connecting with all of you.
Yes, we are excited, but we did need a little bit of a break to rejuvenate, which is why I'm coming back with plants this time. All of these plants, I don't know if it's too many plants, you'll have to let me know, but I feel like plants are going to be key in healing democracy, which is what we are all about on this show.
If I started the season with that many plants, everybody would notice, because I murder house plants, that slowly all my plants were disappearing from the set. So I'm just going to stick with the one that I haven't managed to kill so far.
Right.
And we'll go with that.
Well, your lava lamp on Plant Lady. That's how that's.
Yeah, as long as I remember to turn it on so I don't get scolded by viewers for forgetting to turn on my lava lamp. But I appreciate you guys keeping me on my toes. So we're back. And this week, we are going to be attending the Women's March in DC this weekend, which super excited about. There are a whole bunch of us going, women from the Lincoln Project. And so we wanted to be able to take some of your questions tonight about the Women's March and then a whole bunch of other stuff that has been going on
in the world. Yeah, a lot's been going on. As we've all noted, a lot's been going on. So we're going to cut through all of that and get to the heart of things, because what we're all about is trying to find these solutions, and we're going to do that together. So we're going to start with your questions.
Yeah, let's dive in.
We have a question from Jacqueline Swartz. What can be done to keep the issue of women's reproductive rights above water?
Well, we're getting a little help from people like Greg Abbott, who are making sure that this is definitely an issue that we're all paying attention to. And I have a feeling that this legislation that they passed in Texas is not going to turn out the way they expected. And obviously, now there is going to be a Women's March, 650 or more locations around the country this weekend. So they've helped mobilize and bring this to the forefront, but we are going to have to keep hammering this home, because this issue is so incredibly important.
It really is. And I think this is a real opportunity to have this conversation again, because, a lot of people in the younger generations, I'll include myself in that, have enjoyed many rights that we're now seeing slip away and backtrack. And so it's now our opportunity to engage in these conversations. And so we are going to be talking about a lot about that this season as well, which is having those tough conversations and engaging. And, you're absolutely right, Lisa, like it being back on the forefront and everybody talking about it, like that is where we're at right now. Is we're discussing what needs to be done to ensure that women's rights are protected. But we were talking earlier about this. It's not just a women's issue.
No, it isn't. It's an everybody issue. And it is on a lot of different fronts, whether it truly is bodily autonomy, and people of different genders can become pregnant. This is an issue that we have to think about on a broader spectrum of gender than we previously did. And this is also an issue for male partners who...
Exactly.
We don't accomplish these pregnancies all on our own. Yeah. So,
we can. Watch out. We
can. We usually don't. We can. Be careful. You could be replaced by a turkey baster. But I have 2 sons, and it's an issue for them. They spend a lot of time talking to friends about these kind of issues as young people, and they're fired up because this has been brought to the forefront. Because fortunately, young men at this point, they think it is so vitally important for people who are pregnant to be able to have bodily autonomy and make those decisions for themselves. It's what they've grown up with, just as we have been enjoying that, semi-security for a while. This younger generation has always known it.
Yeah, exactly. So the GOP is coming up against changing times and changing demographics. And since they're not willing to shift with us, I think we're going to have to leave them behind. We have another question. So let's pull that up there. Let's see.
Yeah. This is from Chris Elder. Is there any way to truly save Roe?
I mean, the fact that we are, first of all, yes, states' rights, incredibly important. But we are getting to a point in our country where it's important that those rights exist across the board. One shouldn't have to worry about whether they're in Texas or Florida or Illinois. Like, you shouldn't have to worry about these things. There are certain rights that should be unalienable rights. And bodily autonomy is certainly, in my opinion, one of them. And I think enough people are galvanized by the extreme measures of these bills like SB 8, where, without, 6 weeks, no exceptions for rape victims, no exception like that right there, I think is what is going to make the difference.
Yeah. And we've already seen legislation has been introduced on the federal level that would codify women's or childbearing individuals' right to be able to make these decisions for themselves. So that's one way that even if Roe continues to be eroded or, God forbid, goes away altogether, there are other ways to do this. But it's going to take all of us really being behind those efforts, because we know there are incredibly organized, powerful forces pushing back in the other direction that don't want to see. They don't want to see us be able to have our rights.
Right. And I think also we see a lot of groups that are being very strategic about how to fight this. And so there was one amicus curiae brief filed that basically says that this is a violation of Title IX. Forcing a student athlete to bear a child is actually taking away their rights. And so they're very creative ways. And I think that's what's going to have to happen. This is going to be fought with thinking outside of the box in writing these briefs, writing the defenses to this. So I have high hopes. My plants have hopes.
Yeah, I do too. I live in Vermont. We passed a law a couple of years ago that guarantees the right of people to be able to make choices about pregnancy, and that those choices are always between the person and their doctor. And that's the way this needs to be. And Vermont's now moving to have a constitutional amendment in our state constitution. So hopefully, eventually we'll get there on a federal level.
Yeah. Looks like we have another question.
Yes, we do. Heidi Costello. This is a multi-part question.
Multi-part question. I was going to say there's numbers in this question.
Yes,
there's a lot of questions.
1, 2, 3, 4. The ERA. How do we renew the pressure? Women's reproductive rights, as we've been talking about. The increase of violence against women and the increase of femicide in the U.S., and then economic and educational equity for all. And we haven't talked about it, but economic equity is definitely all tied up in when people and if people are able to choose whether or not they are going to have children.
Yeah, the instability that comes with having a child before one is ready. Well, we all know what that's all about, because that is one of the economic issues, or sometimes the main issues that create trouble within families. And we're seeing that a lot during the pandemic with the increase in domestic violence as well. And so oftentimes being forced to bear a child that is not wanted leads a person to be in a situation that they can't get out of, an abusive situation. And so that's not the stability that we need as a country, in my opinion. So it's not just an autonomy issue, but it's also a stability issue.
Right. And, Republicans are very interested in what happens to a fetus, but they really lose interest post-birth. and the well-being of those children, to make sure that they have their basic needs satisfied. Not so interesting after that. And so if you are going to be anti-choice and you believe that people should have to bear children if they become pregnant, you need to keep caring about those kids after they're born. You don't just get to decide that now, we don't need to pay any attention to the well-being of these kids anymore.
Right. And I think this is where it's key, where we point out, obviously, the hypocrisy of all of it and understanding the subtext, right? Because quite frankly, I think we waste a lot of energy going like, they're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. It's like, we have to look at the subtext. They know exactly what they're doing. And this is truly about control. It's about putting up a divisive issue that they know will galvanize their base. And so we need to recognize that at every turn and stay focused and not get distracted by these and all of us talking about, I can't believe they did this. Of course they did this.
Of course they did this.
Of course they did this.
And boy, the ERA, we came so close quite a few years ago to passing this. It is now a long-term effort to be able to have this amendment again. I don't think that's where the country's attention is going to be right now.
Yeah.
But as soon as we accomplish saving the democracy, I am all for getting back to the constitutional amendment for equal rights.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to put our environment on the back burner right now because it is literally burning. But for now, we have to focus. It's like all eyes on the prize, saving the democracy first, and we'll get to the other stuff. Yes to multitasking. I don't want to say that we can't do it all.
Yes,
but I do think there needs to be a focus right now. So, all righty, another question.
Next one.
All right.
You got that one, Maya?
I do. Barbara G says, I feel we've gone beyond need to vote and are in dangerous territory where votes will be thrown out if not for the right person. How do we make this urgent for Americans?
Well, we spent an awful lot of time talking about this. The voter suppression laws that are being passed around the country, and fortunately there are an awful lot of legal challenges against them right now. They're real. And it's not just limiting people's right to vote, but the laws are being changed about who is going to have control of those elections and whether or not certain areas are going to count, or if they're just going to toss out results and start over again when they don't like the results. So Barbara, you're absolutely right. We have to be focused on this right now. And part of that needs to be passing federal voting rights legislation, because that would take care of a lot of these issues if the Democrats could get that done.
Yeah. And once again, pay attention to the subtext, y'all. It shouldn't be this difficult. The right to vote should not be something that we are fighting for in 2021 and ensuring that all Americans have the right to vote. So again, pay attention to the subtext. Yes, it is dangerous territory. Yes, we all need to be paying attention and making sure that we're registered, that we're understanding the local election laws, understanding where our polling places is, and checking that stuff almost daily, like you're brushing your teeth. It's just like, where am I going to vote? And just keep checking it every day.
Yeah, and put your name forward. There is always a shortage of election workers across the country. So put your name forward and be involved in that. That's one very active way. We just had National Voter Registration Day yesterday, but that doesn't need to be the only day that we're really focused on getting people registered to vote. And then keep having those difficult conversations. You've got to keep bringing it up with people who are apathetic at this point, and make sure they understand 2022 is that's it. Like, we have to get it right in the midterms, or our ability to do anything between 22 and 24 is going to be seriously imperiled. And what we have for voting rights by the next presidential election is beyond troubling.
Yeah, I don't want to have to move off into the forest, y'all. So
slowly backing into her
I'm already
plants.
in the forest. Yeah. It's like back there.
All right. Next one, Diana. How would you suggest we activate Democrats to not be so naive about the nefarious aspects of the GOP? I am having a hard time to get friends to take action. This is what you were just talking about, Maya.
Yeah, this one is like, a lot of times we assume that everybody kind of has, like, we project our own morality and our own ways of being onto other people. And we don't understand that not everybody thinks like us. Not everybody has the same moral code. And I think that's the part that we really need to hone in on in our messaging is like, hey, some people are just assholes. Like, and that's just a fact. And so they're not going to be coaxed into being better people. You have to be mindful of the people who are hurting and behaving in a way that is contradicting their actual values versus people whose values are messed up. And you handle those two things very differently. And I think being able to explain that to people explicitly, show them this clip. Watch this over, share this with friends and family, and understand the difference between somebody whose values are messed up or somebody who is just acting out of fear and anger and acting in a way that actually contradicts their values.
Right. And that's on the voter level, right? We need to get elected Democrats to stop having this same problem.
Lord.
The degree of shock they keep experiencing every time Mitch McConnell is an ogre I'm just so over it. Of course, the guy is evil.
Yeah.
We know this. Expect him to be a hypocrite. He doesn't care. You're not going to shame the GOP into behaving in a better way or following the rules they set for Democrats when they were in the majority. It's not going to happen.
Nope.
So approach this with that understanding. And I
do no harm.
I'm going to be careful with my language.
Wait, are we being careful with our language?
No, I guess not. Get your head out of your asses, because this has been going on for. It isn't just since this last election. This is the way the GOP has been behaving for years prior to this. I mean, Merrick Garland, come on, folks. Yeah. It's not going to change, and we're going to have to get tough. We're going to have to behave, not unethically, but tough, the way the GOP is willing to do if we're going to be able to compete.
Yes. All of that. And then some. We have more questions, but we are going to toss to a quick little video here. So let's watch this and see what y'all think.
Oh, God.
America's under attack, and they're all around us. I'm talking about liberal Democrats, and they're out to destroy everything that we've worked so hard for.
I think they're grossly incompetent. I really do. I don't think it's the votes, because they cheat on the elections. They don't need votes. They cheat on the elections. I mean, you look at 43,000 votes were found last night.
We know what the Democrats are up to here. They want open borders. This is exactly their strategy. They want to replace the American electorate with a third world electorate.
This is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real. The Green New Deal, surprise, serves China and China only.
There's no doubt that President Biden's capacity is severely diminished, and his White House handlers amplify that impression when they keep him locked up in a basement all day long.
Military institutions and their installations.
President Trump has created an industry around America's love for him.
Enjoy the highest grade coffee available without rewarding big corporations. Ofefi. Making coffee great.
Nobody really ever thought a pandemic would happen. It sounds like sort of an ancient thing, or go back to 1917.
The point of mandatory vaccination is to identify the sincere Christians in the ranks, the free thinkers, the men with high testosterone levels, and anyone else who does not love Joe Biden, and make them leave immediately. It's a takeover of the U.S. military.
No government on the planet can do anything to stop climate change.
Rape victims need abortions. Wrong. They needed a Glock 19 when it happened.
We won on the Arizona forensic audit yesterday at a level that you wouldn't believe.
Audit, 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 audit. If I have anything to do with it, we're going to get rid of those voting machines.
You know what I have? I have a mouth that tells the truth.
For the record, we really try our hardest not to put liars, people we know who lie for a living, on television because it's irresponsible.
I mean, I lie. If I'm really cornered or something, I lie.
These people are sick.
One week.
I know. That's
one
why I kept thinking, like, is this really 1 week? Like, why, excuse me while I like vomit everywhere. Like, what? Was that really 1 week?
There's so much in there. The replacement theory that the GOP is pushing now is so, it is based completely on racism, and to refer to people who are trying to come to this country as people from third world countries who are trying to replace, they're stirring up hate. And it's what we see in over and over again in countries where authoritarian forces are trying to take control. They attack immigrants. They go after the other. And that's exactly what we're seeing Tucker Carlson and so many others doing now.
To me, what I really love about this video, though, and we do these weekly at the Lincoln Project, is that by aggregating all of the crazy in one, we can see it for what it is, which is a strategy to distract, to incite fear so that they can mobilize their base. They're incredibly good at it. And so we have to counterbalance that with sanity and reality, because every week it's just a different circus. It's every single week. And we know that now. So we just have to get beyond what that is. We watch it, we see it, share it with friends and family so they can understand, like, look at this circus. These are not leaders carrying memes into Congress. Like entertaining for sure.
But not actually real. And Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, memes are one thing, but this is actually real. That's Scooby-Doo. That's not actually that's not actually real. And that there is a representative in Congress who cannot differentiate between cartoons and reality.
So if you are thinking of running, know that you too can be in Congress. So I encourage as well all of the same people out there to get active and maybe think about running, because they are. So know that.
We need you.
Yes, we need you. We have more questions.
Yeah, we're going to jump back in, moving away from the Women's March, which we're going to be out on Saturday again.
Yes.
Everybody go out to it.
Yes.
Yep. We have a question from Michael D. And he asks, can the Lincoln Project mount a campaign to break the silence of Republican leaders who know the big lie for what it is, but allow it to flourish through their cowardly failure to speak out?
I mean, I feel like we're doing that in a way, right? Like constantly staying on them, constantly forcing them to answer that question, right?
Yeah, I think we have to, this is sort of like coming to grips with the fact that Mitch McConnell's not going to change. These people aren't going to change. They have all made a deal with the devil. They have decided that it is politically advantageous. They get to hang on to power. They know what they're saying isn't true. They know this is all insanity, and they say it off camera, but they're going to keep doing it. And that we're not going to change them. What we need to do is minimize them, and whenever possible, vote them out of office. And hopefully over time, over multiple elections of them losing, break the fever so they realize they're going to have to return to some semblance of sanity and reality if they ever want to win elections again.
Yeah, we'll talk about it towards the end here because we almost are wrapping up, but we are going to talk about reality rallies because that's something that I would like to see for sure. And another part too, like with tech now, they can't get away with pretending that they don't know that Donald Trump did not win the election. Like we get those videos, we get those clips, we put them together, we put them up. So it's like you can only lie so much before you get caught in a world where there are camera phones, and it's just not a good long-term strategy. So don't worry, we are on it. We are on it.
We are.
Got another question from John P. I want to know if Trump is not running in 2024, will you be going after the Democrats since you are all former Republicans? I am not a former Republican. I repeat, I have never, ever been a Republican.
Nope. I have been an independent for as long as I've been voting. There are certainly Republicans I have voted for in the past. That's not happening anymore. But no, this isn't just about Donald Trump. We're way beyond this just being a Donald Trump issue. This is an authoritarian movement. Yeah. And we need to we've got to grasp that at this point because it's so incredibly important to understand.
Yeah, and it's a fair question. I get it, right? Like you look at the Lincoln Project, you go like, oh, like these are all former Republicans. They're just going to try to maneuver and da-da-da. But at the end of the day, we're all seeking a multiracial democracy, a coalition, because that is the only sustainable future for America. So I think it's really all about living in the reality of what our country is right now and saying, hey, how do we prosper together? How do we get along? How do we make the right kind of decisions? And how do we get to a point where we are discussing policy again, actual real policy, and not having shenanigans and memes in the middle of Congress? And so, John, I appreciate that question because I want to be able to talk more about that. So, not a Republican.
Right? And John, in case you don't just trust that out of the goodness and the changed hearts and minds of the folks at the Lincoln Project who were former Republicans, if you don't think that's enough to keep them from going back, the Republican Party, Republican candidates aren't exactly like chomping at the bit to hire any of the people who have been working for the past year and a half now with the Lincoln Project.
Rhinos are not.
Those bridges
burned.
Flamethrowers. Yeah, that's just it's not going to be a thing again. And we do need to have these multiple cycles of Republicans losing. So no, nobody at the Lincoln Project wants to go back to electing Republicans.
Absolutely not. You can email us your questions, y'all. Our email address is right there at the bottom of the screen. And so we'd love to have more questions for next week because we are coming back next week after having gone to the Women's March. So we're going to have a lot to report on and talk about. And we'll definitely, obviously, grab some photos and videos when we are at the march as well to show what solidarity looks like, to show what it's like to work together.
And kick-ass shirts.
Yep, it's democracy in action, right? And we have another show, not us, but some other people are having a show tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow night, The Breakdown returns with Tara Setmeyer and Rick Wilson. They're 8 o'clock Eastern time, just like us, 5 p.m. Pacific. And they are going to be joined tomorrow night by Matthew Dowd, who is not only a truly wonderful, brilliant human being, but he also announced today that he is running for lieutenant governor in Texas. And my God, does Texas need a different lieutenant governor? So make sure you tune into that and hear what Matthew has to say. He's a great candidate.
Yes, I will definitely be watching. I'm excited about that. So this has been our first show back, and I'm so excited for everybody out there who joined us. Please share this. Please find us on Twitter. I'm at Maya on Stage. And Lisa, where are you at?
I'm at LC Senecal across all the social media platforms. You can find me all there. So yeah,
not Peloton though. You won't share your Peloton one anymore.
I am no pain, no cupcake. on Peloton, because that's what it takes to get me to consistently exercise, is knowing that there's like, I'm like, instead of a carrot, I have a cupcake.
Maybe that's what we need. Cupcakes for democracy. Yes, because it is urgent,
and
y'all.
You get a cupcake. Yeah, you get a cupcake.
Yeah, you get a democracy. Look under your seat. Still a functioning democracy. Let's do this. That's what we're in this for, y'all. We're doing this together. We're doing this as a community. So we appreciate all of your support. So please, have a safe night, and we will see y'all next week.
Yeah, see you next Wednesday.